LT was a bad mother.
He's head and shoulders above whoever the next player is. And I've been fortunate to coach a lot of great defensive players, but you talk about Lawrence Taylor now, that's a whole different conversation.
The NFL had no answer for Lawrence Taylor. Before Myles Garrett, before T.J. Watt, before Von Miller, there was one player who forced the entire NFL to stop what it was doing and rebuild itself from scratch. Not to win a championship, just to survive him. Most people know the name Lawrence Taylor. Far fewer understand what he actually did to this league.
Outside he threw, picked off by Lawrence Taylor. 97-yard touchdown.
Great players make big plays in big games.
And that gap between what people remember and what actually happened is exactly why we're here. Because the greatest defensive player in NFL history didn't just dominate his era, he broke it. He forced the greatest offensive minds of his generation to invent positions that had never existed, deploy players in ways that had never been tried, and spend entire weeks of preparation on a single problem that still had no good solution. Coaches didn't scheme against Lawrence Taylor.
Four-man rush again. Taylor breaks through. Lights out.
The way they schemed against other great players. They panicked.
We had to have a special game plan just for Lawrence Taylor.
2 Super Bowl rings, 2 NFL Defensive Player of the Year awards, the 1986 MVP, the first defensive player in NFL history to win it unanimously.
Montana back to throw. Going deep, it's going to be picked off by Lawrence Taylor.
But here's what might shock you. Those accolades aren't even the full story. Lawrence Taylor didn't just dominate his position. He forced every offense in the NFL to reinvent itself because of him.
And that was my answer to everything. If you don't know what you're doing, just rush the quarterback. Hell, see what happens.
Now it's time to witness the terror and the brilliance of football's most game-changing force. This is the story of Lawrence Taylor.
We'll put it up. He beats one man, beats another, he's hit again.
When Lawrence Julius Taylor was born on February 4th, 1959, in Williamsburg, Virginia, there was little indication that this son of a dispatcher at the Newport News shipyards would become the most dominant defensive player in NFL history. His mother, Iris, was a schoolteacher. They raised 3 boys in a working-class home in a town that had no blueprint for producing someone like this. Here's the first twist in the story. Taylor wasn't even playing football. He was a baseball player, a catcher, who dreamed of playing professional baseball. It wasn't until his sophomore year at Lafayette High School that a youth football coach spotted something in him at a baseball practice and convinced him to try the game. He didn't play organized high school football until his junior year. Think about that. 2 years of high school football, and NFL scouts across the country couldn't stop talking about him. While other players followed conventional techniques, Taylor improvised. He relied on pure instinct and explosive athleticism. Without knowing it, he was developing the pass-rushing skills that would make him legendary. The University of North Carolina took a chance on him. Under head coach Dick Crum, Taylor moved from defensive line to linebacker, where his speed and instincts could truly shine. He partied hard, lived on his own terms.
So when I was in college, I just tried to be the rough, tough guy on campus.
And by his senior year, had recorded a still-standing UNC record of 16 sacks in a single season.
Wangler, great play. Oh my goodness, that's a fine play by Lawrence Taylor, and it's the second big play in the game Lawrence has made.
He was a consensus All-American, the ACC Player of the Year, and the most frightening edge rusher college football had seen in a generation. And he never pretended to be anything other than exactly what he was. Taylor once summed up his entire philosophy in one sentence: "Let's go out there like a bunch of crazed dogs and have some fun." That wasn't locker room talk. That was a mission statement.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazed dogs and have some fun.
It was the way he played every single snap of his career, and it terrified everyone who had to line up across from him. Before the 1981 NFL Draft, the league's 28 general managers were asked a simple question: who would you take with the first pick? 26 said Lawrence Taylor. The New Orleans Saints held the top spot and took running back George Rogers instead. The New York Giants, picking second, did not make the same mistake.
The New York Giants, first-round selection, Lawrence Taylor, linebacker, North Carolina.
When Taylor arrived at Giants training camp in 1981, he was ready to prove he belonged.
It took LT literally about one practice for everybody to know that he was probably the best player on the field.
His rookie season was nothing short of spectacular. He recorded 9.5 sacks, before sacks were even an official NFL statistic, forced numerous fumbles, and completely changed how opposing offenses had to game plan.
Son, I gotta do better than this.
Taylor became the only player in NFL history to win both Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season.
I've already made the statement, I'll make it again, that he's the best young player that I've ever seen at any position as a rookie.
No player in NFL history has done it since. But that was just the beginning. Here's where the Lawrence Taylor story becomes almost unbelievable. Teams didn't just adjust their blocking assignments because of number 56. They reinvented their entire offensive philosophy.
Well, he forced offenses to behave differently.
They created new positions. They rewrote the rule book. Washington's Joe Gibbs, arguably the greatest offensive mind of the era, sat down after getting torched by Lawrence Taylor and invented something the NFL had never seen before: the H-back.
You can't block Lawrence Taylor with a back. You can't block Lawrence Taylor by turning the tackle out on him. The best way to try and prevent him from killing you is to put a tight end in his face, which was the beginning of the H-back.
A hybrid tight end and fullback, positioned specifically to stay in protection and account for an unblockable edge rusher. An entirely new offensive position, dreamed up in a film room because one player made existing formations obsolete. Gibbs said it himself: we had to try in some way to have a special game plan just for Lawrence Taylor. Bill Walsh did the same thing. In the 1981 NFC Divisional Playoffs, the most innovative offensive mind in football made a decision that had never been made before at that level. He pulled guard John Ayers, the 49ers' best blocker, out of the interior line and assigned him to shadow Lawrence Taylor on every single play. Not a tackle, not a tight end, a guard. It was the most Taylor-specific tactic in NFL history, and it became the league-wide blueprint. Teams across the country copied it.
Motion, and here comes Lawrence Taylor.
And here is the financial legacy that nobody talks about enough. The left tackle position, the blind side protector, became one of the highest paid positions on the field almost overnight. Today, elite left tackles regularly command $20 million a year or more. That market was created because Lawrence Taylor made the edge of the offensive line the most terrifying real estate in professional football. One player changed the economics of the entire league. Bill Parcells understood this better than anyone. When he took over as head coach of the New York Giants in 1983, he didn't ask how Lawrence Taylor fit the existing scheme. He rebuilt the scheme around Lawrence Taylor. Parcells shifted the Giants to a 3-4 defense, 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers, specifically to free Taylor as a pure edge weapon on every snap. Defensive coordinator Bill Belichick engineered pressure packages that launched Taylor off the edge, while Carl Banks and Leonard Marshall collapsed the pocket from the other side. The result was the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, one of the most dominant defenses in NFL history, built with a single person as its foundation. People ask whether Lawrence Taylor would dominate today's NFL. Here's your answer. Joe Gibbs invented an entirely new position just to slow him down. Bill Walsh used a guard as a personal bodyguard just to survive one playoff game. The league didn't just try to stop him. It structurally reorganized itself because of him. Some problems don't have an era. The play that shouldn't exist. November 25th, 1982. Thanksgiving Day, national television. The New York Giants versus the Detroit Lions in a strike-shortened season where every game was everything. Taylor had a bad knee. Bad enough that the TV broadcasters weren't sure he'd even suit up. He suited up. For 3 quarters, both defenses suffocated every drive. The game was locked at 6-6 heading into the 4th quarter. Ugly, grinding, desperate football. The Lions had the ball, moving into Giants territory, 1 field goal away from the lead. Detroit quarterback Gary Danielson dropped back and threw a pass to his left toward the flat, except Lawrence Taylor read it before the ball left Danielson's hand. He broke in front of the receiver, snatched the pass at his own 3-yard line, and ran. 97 yards for a touchdown.
Danielson looking in, end zone for a pass. He's looking for King, intercepted. He's going to go down the right side. Lawrence down to the 20, 30, down to the 40. He might go all the way.
The only touchdown either team would score. Giants win 13-6. Stop and think about what that play was. That wasn't a pass rusher making a lucky break. That was a linebacker with the football IQ of a safety, the closing speed of a cornerback, and the toughness to play through injury on national television on Thanksgiving Day. Taylor forced 3 turnovers that afternoon. Every single point the Giants scored, they scored because of him. That's not a defensive play.
Here comes the rush by Taylor. And you talk about strong.
That's a one-man takeover, and it was only 1982, 4 years before Lawrence Taylor would deliver the single greatest individual defensive season in NFL history. The 1986 season, the greatest year a defender ever had. The early 1980s were when Lawrence Taylor transformed from a promising rookie into the most feared defensive player in the NFL. In 1982, he won his 2nd consecutive NFL Defensive Player of the Year award. Then came 1986, and nothing in defensive football has looked the same since. That year, Taylor recorded 20.5 sacks, a single-season record for a linebacker.
Right back on blitz is coming and the ball is loose. White was hammered.
He forced fumbles seemingly at will, and he became the first defensive player since Alan Page in 1971 to win the NFL Most Valuable Player award, winning it unanimously. In a league built around quarterbacks and running backs, a linebacker was voted the most valuable player in the entire NFL.
Lawrence Taylor gets his 3rd sack.
Think about what that means. That season ended in Pasadena, Super Bowl 21. The Broncos came in with John Elway and a game plan specifically designed to neutralize number 56. And for stretches, it worked. But Lawrence Taylor's defining moment came when it mattered most. Denver drove to the Giants' 1-yard line in the 2nd quarter, threatening to take control of the game. On 1st down, Elway tried a run-pass option. Taylor exploded through the line and dropped him for a 1-yard loss. The next 2 plays gained nothing. The Broncos missed a 23-yard field goal, the shortest missed field goal in Super Bowl history. The Giants took over, scored 26 unanswered points, and won 39-20.
The Giants have been pronounced the best, and right now, going for their first Super Bowl championship, their first NFL title since 1956.
One play at the 1-yard line. That's the Lawrence Taylor problem in a single moment. Lawrence Taylor had his first Super Bowl ring. It would not be his last. His career numbers are staggering. 132.5 official sacks, plus the 9.5 from his rookie year before the statistic was formally recognized, bringing his real total to 142. He also scored 2 defensive touchdowns, including that 97-yard interception return against Detroit.
Danielson looking in, zone for a pass. He's looking for King, intercepted. He's going to go down the right side. Lawrence down to the 20, 30, down to the 40. He might go all the way.
But those numbers don't capture the plays that never happened, because quarterbacks were so terrified of him, they threw the ball away rather than risk a hit from LT. The moment that stopped the broadcast.
Obviously, he and I are linked forever, but Lawrence Taylor wasn't a dirty player. He was just better than everybody else.
November 18th, 1985, Monday Night Football. Washington Redskins quarterback Joe Theismann takes a snap, drops back, looks downfield, and Lawrence Taylor comes off the edge. What happened next stopped the broadcast. 2 bones in Theismann's legs snapped on live national television, a compound fracture so violent that Taylor himself immediately jumped up and frantically waved for the medical staff to come out.
First and 10. Riggins, squeeze lifter, back to Theismann. Theismann's in a lot of trouble.
The celebration he usually wore like a second skin was nowhere to be found. Even Lawrence Taylor understood that something had just crossed a line. The world remembers the one hit that horrified everyone, but that was only the most visible symptom of the Lawrence Taylor problem. Because 3 years later, he would do something that made even that moment look ordinary. The greatest game Bill Parcells ever saw. Most players would have missed the game. Lawrence Taylor turned it into a horror movie. It was a crucial late-season 1988 matchup against the New Orleans Saints, and the Giants' season was hanging by a thread. Taylor had a torn pectoral muscle, not a sore shoulder, not a bruised chest, a torn pectoral muscle. The Giants' medical staff fitted him with a shoulder harness just to keep the joint in place. The sideline cameras found him writhing in agony as trainers worked on him between series, his face a mask of controlled fury and raw pain. This wasn't an injury he was managing. This was an injury that would sideline most players for weeks. Lawrence Taylor was walking back onto the football field. 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Giants win 13-12. When the game was over, Bill Parcells, a man who had seen everything in professional football, looked at what had just happened and said, "The greatest game I ever saw." Not one of, not top 5. The greatest game he had ever seen from any player in any stadium in his entire career. That's what Lawrence Taylor did. He didn't play through pain. He weaponized it. And 2 years later, with a championship on the line and a dynasty within reach of surviving, he would show up one more time in the most critical moment of the era, killing a three-peat. January 20th, 1991, Candlestick Park, San Francisco, the NFC Championship game. The 49ers had gone 14-2 that season. They had back-to-back Super Bowl titles. They were 1 win away from a shot at something no other team in NFL history had ever accomplished: 3 consecutive Super Bowl championships. The crowd was electric, Montana was surgical, and with minutes left on the clock, it felt like destiny was already written. San Francisco led 13-12. The 49ers had the ball. Roger Craig, one of the most dependable backs in the league, was running out the clock. All the 49ers needed to do was hold on. Then, Giants nose tackle Eric Howard fought through a double team and got his helmet on the football. The ball came loose, and Lawrence Taylor, who had already beaten a block by tight end Brent Jones and a block by fullback Tom Rathman just to get to the right spot, caught the fumble in mid-air at the Giants' 43-yard line. The stadium went silent.
You couldn't hold the ball for any length of time. If you did, at LT, he was there.
Matt Barr kicked the field goal. The Giants were going to Super Bowl 25.
And the kick is good.
Where they would hold the high-powered Buffalo Bills to 19 points and win 20-19. Taylor's second championship, delivered on the back of the same relentless dominance that had defined every season he had ever played. When a dynasty was 1 possession away from surviving, Lawrence Taylor was in the middle of the turnover that ended it. That's not a statistical achievement. That is a legacy carved directly into the most important moments of an era. When Taylor finally hung up his cleats after the 1993 season, his resume was already the standard by which all defensive players would be measured. 10 Pro Bowl selections, 8 first-team All-Pro honors, 3 NFL Defensive Player of the Year awards, the 1986 NFL MVP, won unanimously, 2 Super Bowl championships. It is the greatest resume in the history of defensive football. It is not particularly close. In 1999, Lawrence Taylor was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. The voting wasn't close. When your resume includes revolutionizing an entire position, winning an MVP as a defensive player, and terrorizing quarterbacks for over a decade, there is no debate about your worthiness. What made him impossible wasn't just the physical gifts, though he was faster and stronger than anyone had any right to be at that position. It was his football intelligence.
Hewitt was the man in motion, and here comes Lawrence Taylor. And the ball is loose. And
he studied offensive coordinators like a chess master. He could diagnose a play before the snap, drop into coverage, stop the run, or take over a game from any angle on the field. Offensive coordinators didn't just struggle to stop him. They couldn't reliably predict where the damage would come from. The hybrid pass rusher position that dominates today's NFL, Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Von Miller, they are all running the blueprint that LT wrote. The idea that one defensive player could single-handedly wreck an offensive game plan, force double teams, alter salary structures, and make head coaches abandon their entire system, that idea started with number 56. Every edge rusher in today's NFL is playing in a position Lawrence Taylor created. As NFL Hall of Famer Howie Long once said, "All I can say about Lawrence Taylor is that he's the best defensive football player I've seen. Everyone else is a pretender." He made the greatest offensive minds of his era invent positions that didn't exist. He played through a torn pectoral muscle in a harness and recorded 3 sacks. He caught the fumble that ended a dynasty. He was the most feared man on every field he ever walked onto. For 13 years, without interruption, without equal. Lawrence Taylor retired in 1993. Offensive coordinators kept game planning for him anyway. That's how you know it was real. If this story hit different, drop a comment below with your favorite LT moment. If you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell. End Zone Exposed is where the stories the record books can't fully tell finally get told. End Zone Exposed is where the truth always scores.